Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chief, and this is the Fishbowl Radio. I would also like to welcome to the show a person who has been with us for the last couple of years, Juicy. Welcome to the show, Juicy.
Oh, it's good to be back. We hadn't been on here in some time, though.
Yeah, the only person we're missing in this show is Mike Honcho, but Mike Honcho was taking the day off. He couldn't make it because he had some other projects to do, so we'll wish him the best of luck in those projects. Hopefully he gets a good grade on whatever he's doing, so he can have a really good, semester. He's going to try to get that bachelor's degree, then go into grad school.
Yeah, he's been hard at work. I mean, I'll give him that. He's been nonstop.
Yeah, it's always a nonstop working when you're in college. Luckily, last year I graduated, so that's all good.
Yeah, and I'm just not in school, but I don't miss school.
Yeah, but you graduated. You got an associate's degree, Juicy. Congrats, man. And you just bought you a new truck, so.
Yeah, I know. I'm finally getting somewhere in this world.
Yeah, getting up there. All right. Well, thank you for everybody for tuning in to us here on the Fishbowl Radio. Here are the three biggest headlines happening in sports right here at Acadiana today. Number one, we're going to take a look at the Sun Belt men's basketball tournament in New Orleans. Number two, we will recap the LSU versus UL baseball game last night at Russo Park, as we take a look at UL versus South Alabama, and LSU will take on Hawaii at home. And also, we're going to have UL softball. They're going to go on the road to open up conference play versus Coastal Carolina. So, as we go through there, let's go to the Sun Belt men's basketball tournament. Juicy, the Raging Cajuns have been really dominant this year in the Sun Belt Conference, if I had to say so myself. They've done a really good job this year at having a fantastic season. I mean, they put together the best, most wins in program history, 26-5, 16-2 in conference play, and they went 14-1 in the Cajun Dome this year. What you think about that?
Well, I have to say it's quite a season they had. I mean, honestly, I don't think anybody expected it, really. I mean, they're usually pretty quiet, but this year they've made a lot of noise on the hardwood, though. I mean, 14-1 at home. I mean, you can't really beat that. I know they're favored to win the Sun Belt tournament.
Well, this is the whole different 180 compared to what happened in the preseason. They were picked to finish fifth, which I thought this team had a lot more potential than what a lot of the other coaches in Sunbelt media was actually giving them to actually finish. I mean, I feel like they missed a boat way far by having this team picked that low. You had Frank Bartley, who was a really great player for them this year, and Jakeem Gant. I mean, this guy here, he won Defensive Player of the Year in the Sunbelt. So, I mean, he knows how to get it done out there, and they've done a really good job here. So, with their first game being Texas State here, looking back at their past performances against Texas State, they won in San Marcos, 80-55 for the first game, and 73-63 at home in the Cajun Dome. So, do you think they can get the trifecta in New Orleans this week, Juicy?
Well, I don't believe why there's a reason why they shouldn't be able to get the trifecta. I mean, they beat them twice already, but there's always that thing, though. It's hard to beat somebody three times in the same season because sometimes the third time's a charm and they finally get it figured out. But with that being said, I mean, UL just has to play like UL basketball played all season long, and I think they should come out victorious, at least in this game.
I think a lot of pressure from last game, them trying to go undefeated at home. They lost against Arkansas Little Rock, who only won 7 games this year.
Who was probably favored, I think, to win the Sun Belt this year.
Yeah, and they just dropped off like a cliff. I mean, you didn't really think about this too much here because it was something that you needed to think about, and it's going to be one of those here. This game here has been, for the games that they played up to this point, UL basketball, they really have been contested in the conference wise. I'm talking about. They played a game against Clemson, which didn't go well for the Raging Cajuns. They ended up losing 60-89. But I mean, everybody else they played in state, they took care of business against Southeastern, New Orleans, Louisiana Tech, Loyola, Nichols, McNeese. They've beaten all those teams here, And the only losses you can pinpoint are Wyoming, Clemson was a loss, and you got Little Rock, and you also got Georgia State, which they will play probably Georgia State later on in the tournament here. So, but I mean, depending on how all this stuff goes here, we're still looking at all this stuff here in this tournament bracket here. It's going to be real interesting. This is actually the first time that, this is their. Let me rephrase this. Louisiana's 24 wins in the Sun Belt Conference are the second most among the current membership behind South Alabama's 34. So, in terms of tournament wins, Louisiana has been really dominant. In this, when it gets crunch time, they really seem to pick up the place.
This is just Sun Belt tournament wins?
That is Sun Belt tournament, yep, that is the wins. And Louisiana and Texas State meet for the second time in the Sun Belt Conference Championship quarterfinals, with the Raging Cajuns claiming a 53-43 victory in 2015. Also, under head coach Bob Marlin, Louisiana is 58-31 overall in games played in February and March.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive resume he's got. I mean,
but also this though, Juicy. Let's look at this here. Louisiana leads the Sun Belt Conference in scoring offense for the 6th straight year and 11th time overall. The Raging Cajun 84 points per game is the highest by the Sun Belt Conference team since Alabama's 84.6 since all the way back in 1994 through 95.
That's even more impressive. But I mean, but they've never had a problem with the offense in the past few years. It's always been their defense that's been lagged them down a little bit, which that statistic just proves to you right there that exactly where the problem has been.
Another interesting stat we have going on, since the 2013-2014 season when Louisiana last reached the NCAA tournament, the Raging Cajuns, they've played a total of 91 games. And with 80 or more points scored, the 5th most by any Division I school during that span, and trailing North Carolina, BYU, Gonzaga, and Duke. So that was a little tidbit you might not know about going into this game. And Louisiana's tied for second in the country with William and Mary in games making 20 or more free throws while converting at an 80% or greater mark.
But let's note though that the teams they trail in the points. I mean, we all know. I mean, Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns play a little bit lesser caliber opponents than some of these.
Yeah, but I mean, it's.
If we're being fair.
If we're gonna be fair, well, the people that they usually got out on the floor when they start the game is Malik Marquetti, Frank Bartley, Jakeem Gant, Bryce Washington, and Marcus Stroman. All these guys have been phenomenal this year. Jakeem Gant is the newcomer of the year, defensive player of the year. Marquetti had a career high, tying 3 blocks versus Arkansas State. And most of these guys, that like the starting 5, are juniors and seniors. They have 2 seniors and 3 juniors.
Yeah, they have a real experienced team. There might be it could be a couple of potential NBA draft picks, at least one for sure. With I think Dan would probably be Dan or Gant. I can't remember his name, but
Jakeem Gant.
Gant, yeah, he probably for sure be potential draft pick out of all of them.
Yeah, the last 5 meetings against Texas State, the Raging Cajuns have won the last 4, but they're 4-1 against Texas State. The series history points to the Raging Cajuns winning this game. They lead at 11-1. They're 6-0 in Lafayette. In San Marcos, they're 4-1. In New Orleans, they are 1-0 against Texas State. So, with this preview, this game's going to get down. It's going to start going at 11:30 tomorrow, Friday, Central Time. It's going to be streamed on ESPN3, so if you have ESPN, ESPN2, you'll probably be able to catch ESPN3 on your computer. So it'd be a really good, it should be a fun game to watch, but Juicy, who you picked to win this game between Texas State and Louisiana?
Well, I will say that with the experience, I think with the experience that the Raging Cajuns have with Dan and the other ones they got, I forgot the other one's name. Dan,
Frank Bartley.
There you go, Bartley with them too. I think I think UL could pull this game out with Dan and Hartley if they get the job done. I mean, Dan, you said won the defensive player of the year? I can't remember.
Yes, that is correct, Juicy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, it was Dan that won the defensive player of the year. See, they got so much talent, I can't remember which one. but nonetheless, Dan, with his defense, I think Georgia Southern have a little bit of a hard time getting to the basket, especially in the paint. It'd be pretty hard for them to really get anything going. I think their best chance would probably be from beyond the paint or outside the arc, but I think UL's going to win this game. I don't know how close it'll be. I just know they're going to win.
Well, according to like your football ideology, 4 to 5 touchdowns. Remember that? We had that going on in 2015.
Yeah, I remember that little
thing we had going on there. But yeah, I do think the Raging Cajuns will pull up the victory here, and I do expect them to move on to the semis if that were the case. I bet like you said before, it's hard to be a team 3 times in a year, but I don't think Texas State will be able to pull it off. Give me the Raging Cajuns in this game. All right. Before we move on to our next segment, we're going to take a quick commercial break here. And just to kind of get y'all relaxed, make sure y'all come back. We don't want y'all to leave and go anywhere else. So,
don't touch that towel.
Don't touch that towel. That's funny. That's a real funny way to get to go to the commercial. Don't touch that dial. Stay tuned, right? Don't touch the dial.
10 seconds for station identification.
10 stations for, that's how that goes. Anyway, y'all don't touch that dial. Y'all stay tuned here to the Fishbowl Radio. We're going to be back real quick here. You'll have not too much of a fun time without us. So, we'll be back.
Day 13. If only this were as easy as saving $600 when you switch to Progressive. Winds stirring, too treacherous for a selfie. Sure, I've taken discounts to new heights with Safe Driver and paperless billing, but the prize at the top is worth every last breath. Here we go. Got him. Wait a minute. Whole wheat waffles? Day 13. If only this were as easy as saving $600 when you switch to Progressive. Winds stirring, too treacherous for a selfie. Sure, I've taken discounts to new heights with Safe Driver and paperless billing, but the prize at the top is worth every last breath. Here we go. Got him. Wait a minute. Whole wheat waffles?
Welcome back, everybody, to the Fishbowl Radio here. Nice little commercial break. Excuse me. Nice commercial break from Progressive. We are back here, and we're going to start another thing that we're going to talk about today is the LSU versus UL baseball game last night. The Louisiana Raging Cajuns ended up defeating the LSU Tigers 4-3.
That was a wild game.
Yeah, it was. You know what the crazy thing was? In the first inning, LSU scored the first run of the game.
Yeah, they were up 1-0.
1-0, and that stayed that way for a really, really long time until
it went all the way to extra innings.
Yeah. 10 innings, LSU had scored 3 runs on 6 hits and they had 1 error. The Raging Cajuns scored 4 runs, had 11 hits, and 1 error. So, the Raging Cajuns so far this year are 5-7, while LSU falls to 9-5 on the year. So,
LSU got a pretty good record.
Yeah, LSU's been doing pretty well here. What was your biggest takeaway from the game, Juicy?
Well, I mean, last night just shows you, hey, especially, I mean, anything can happen. I mean, you never know who could win. I mean, the school's only 60 miles apart from each other. But my biggest takeaway was, I mean, maybe to me that seems like that could be UL's turnaround point in the season. I mean, sometimes it takes things like that. The biggest takeaway is how they had to battle in the extra innings and win, and sometimes it's games like that brings teams together and they get and they get it going. So we'll see. I mean, I'd be interested to see how their season will turn out from that win right there, going into extra innings to defeat a team like.
Okay. It was a really good game. I was there, and it took a really long time for any team to really get going. Raging Cajuns had to load the bases up in the bottom of the first inning, and they couldn't drive any runs home. After the game, Coach Rove was giving interviews, and he said, we need to work on that, and that was one of his key points taken away from the game. He said we did a lot of good things, and that's one of the key points he really wanted to work on and make it better for his team. That way, you got to try to score people in scoring position. You get guys on second and third base, you expect to drive them runs home. And when you leave them stranded out there, it doesn't really help you out that much at all. And you know that.
Runs out there, and it costs runs that could cost the game.
Yeah, exactly. So, as we look back, until it was like the 8th, what was it? Yeah, it was the bottom of the 8th inning, okay? And the Cajuns broke through. They had a 2-run bunt single. That it was a suicide squeeze play, and it took a 2-1 edge. Cantrell added another run later in the inning, bringing home Castles on a 2-out single to center field to increase the advantage to 3-1. So at this point, everybody's thinking, "Oh, the Cajuns have this," but the LSU Tigers this year, they have made a living out of comeback out of nowhere and winning games at the skin of their teeth.
Yes, and last year was much of the same way. But, I mean, hey, the Cardiac Cats.
The Cardiac Cats. That's a good way to put it, Juicy.
You never count them out, honestly.
Yep, it ain't over till the fat lady sings, they say. But, in the top of the 9th, guess what? The LSU Tigers answer back on a 2-out, 2-run double to right center field by pinch hitter Austin Bain to even the contest to 3-3. And the crazy thing was Austin Bain, the next inning, guess what happens? He ends up the game on the mound. He ends up on the mound pitching to the Raging Cajuns, and everybody's gonna be thinking, "Wait, this guy just hit like a 2-run double? What's he doing on the mound?" So
sometimes you get him where he can play all the positions. I don't know.
Yeah, in the bottom of the 10th, the Raging Cajuns loaded up the bases with 2 outs, and LaHare singled, and Castles and Cantrell. Yeah, he had a walk off, and Wyndham lifted the first pitch he saw from Bain back up the middle into center field for a single to give Louisiana its first walk-off win of the season. So Wyndham did his job. His first pitch, I don't like taking swings on the first pitch. I've seen that sometimes with the Cajuns. They would swing at the first pitch, and I'm like, man.
Most of them take to try and see what they can get.
Yeah, you want to try to figure out what the pitcher's doing. I mean, you got to try to it's a little bit of a cat and mouse game out there. So, it's all kind of different things like that, just simple fundamentals of the game. They get overlooked sometimes, and you really want to know if you're really doing a good job or you're not. You got to kind of look back and see what the fundamentals are.
Yeah, things like batters taking the time out to step away from the plate, that helps out in their mind. It helps their minds forget about the last pitch and improves their timing in the swing by so much when they take a 15-second step away from the plate. Studies have shown that too.
Well, the last 4 games for Louisiana, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and LSU. They all played. The first 3 games I mentioned were played in Houston, Texas. That was Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. The Shriners College Classic, which was a real interesting thing for the Raging Cajuns. The first game they played Mississippi State. They ended up losing 1-3. Then they played number 12, but Mississippi State was ranked number 21. Then on Saturday they played against number 12 Vanderbilt. The Raging Cajuns picked up the victory, 3-0 over number 12 Vanderbilt. And then they played number 7 Kentucky, and they lost 4-10. So this is their second win over a ranked team this year in LSU. So I mean, I think this Raging Cajun team will bounce back, from having this bad start to the year. I mean, it's we were all kind of shocked the way it was. Well, Texas is still ranked too. They're ranked number 14. I thought they had fallen.
Well, we've already seen the Cajuns like get to the Sun Belt tournament and like go on a tear and get all the way to Super Regional.
So yeah,
it's never too early to. You can't judge a season how it starts.
Yeah. So with us done recapping this game here, let's go on forward to South Alabama. Okay, it's gonna be at Teague here. Friday it's gonna be at 6:30, Saturday at 2, and Sunday at 1. So how you see that series going for the Raging Cajuns, Juicy?
Well, I see. Well, coming off that win with LSU, I think I could see UL winning at least 2 out of 3. I don't see how they can't at least win 2 out of 3 against South Alabama. I mean, they just UL just has the momentum. I mean, there were not really much else to say. I just feel like UL's got the momentum on their side. And I think they at least squeeze 2 out of 3, but we'll always hope for the sweep, though. Everybody always tries to get the sweep, so we'll see what happens.
Like you said,
all you gotta do is win 2 out of 3, and that's all that matters. You win the series, the bragging rights.
Yeah, like you said, it's really hard. Like you said earlier in the show, that it's hard to win. Like, beat a team 3 times in a row, because after a while it gets hard and repetitive.
Especially for baseball, it applies because you play 3-game series. So
yeah, I mean, it's really hard for any team to get an advantage over beating someone 3 times in a row. I think the Cajuns will get 2 wins here. I feel like this win over LSU is going to really propel them, and maybe start getting the tear. They do play at Tulane next Tuesday, and then the next series they got at Georgia Southern. So they go on a road swing here, but I do think maybe the confines of Russo Park will do really well for the Cajuns. I'll say they do get 2 wins over them. I don't think they'll get the sweep, but give me 2 wins for the Cajuns against South Alabama this year. And now we're going to talk about the LSU Tigers. They come off this loss of the Raging Cajuns. How you think they'll handle Hawaii this week? Juicy. Hawaii's 7-4 on the year, and the LSU Tigers are 9-5.
Well, I think one thing for sure how to handle Hawaii. One thing Hawaii's got working against them is the time zone there, and they're like 6 hours behind us. So the traveling will be one thing for them. Having the jet lag maybe, and if it's not even the jet lag, it could just be tired from traveling in general. But I think LSU will bounce back from the UL win. I mean they're too talented and they're a better squad. I think just Hawaii. Honestly, I think LSU could probably sweep them. If you're asking me, I think LSU would sweep Hawaii. That's just my thought, because I just don't. I didn't even know. In all honesty, I didn't even know Hawaii had a baseball team. I just put it like that.
Okay.
I didn't even know they had one.
Well, shame on you, Juicy, for not doing your research, right?
Shame on me. I didn't think Hawaii had a baseball team.
Well, this weekend does mark the first time this is the first baseball meeting between LSU and Hawaii. The Tigers are 19-10 all-time against members of the Big West Conference. LSU is 2-0 versus Fresno State, 3-2 versus UC Irvine, 7-4 versus Cal State Fullerton, and 7-4 versus Long Beach State. So pitching matchups: Zach Hess, who's 2-1 on the year, a 6.46 ERA. He's pitching.
His ERA is pretty high. It's
yeah.
Not, he ain't been the Zach Hess from Omaha last year. Let's put it like that.
Nope. 15.1 innings pitched, 8 base on balls, and 25 strikeouts on the year. Looks like
He does have a lot of strikeouts.
Looks like he'll be going up against Jackson Reese, who is 1-0. He's got a .93 ERA, 19.1 innings pitched, 5 base on balls.
He's got .9 ERA.
.93 ERA.
Oh yeah, if he's got that, he's pretty solid.
So, I mean, he's been pitching really well this year, and it doesn't look like the LSU Tigers are going to have... They're going to have a tough time at the plate. They got Junior...
I don't know, LSU got plenty of offense, though.
Well, I mean, they do, but the next game, they got Dominic DeMario, who's a 1.89 ERA. And then the next, they got Neo Uskalai, a 2.55 ERA.
Must be a Hawaiian name.
Yeah, probably so. And LSU is 1-1 so far this week with an 8-2 win over Southern on Tuesday night and a 4-3 10-inning loss at Louisiana on Wednesday night. The Tigers are 13 in this week's college baseball poll. This is the 118th consecutive week the Tigers have appeared in the poll.
Wow.
So I mean they're used to saying the top 25.
They usually get to at least Omaha about every year.
You know the crazy thing is that LSU freshman right-hander Nick Storez may make his first career LSU appearance on the mound on Sunday. That's something to look out forward to this weekend.
Yeah, I think they still kind of trying out pitchers there because Eric Walker was supposed to be like the Alex Lang or the Lang or Nola of this year, but he had to have Tommy John surgery at the beginning of the year, so he's out for the season. So that's why LSU's pitching kind of got thrown for a little bit.
So they still got to find their rotation and trying to find that third person.
And not having Eric Walker really hurt them.
Yeah. So you said you think LSU's going to sweep Hawaii?
Yeah, because I didn't even. I'm sorry, Fishbowl Nation, but I'm sorry. I didn't even think Hawaii had a baseball team.
This guy here, y'all.
I didn't even know they had one.
This guy right here. Well, anyway, I do think LSU will win the series. I don't think they'll sweep it. I just think that pitching of Hawaii.
If they lost the series, honestly.
I don't think they'll lose the series either.
Yeah,
but I think.
I said I'd be surprised if they lost the series.
I think Hawaii's pitching may prove to be kind of hard for LSU to adjust to. I mean, we'll see what happens though. Them having them low ERAs like that, you know you're having great years whenever you're having that kind of ERA on the mound for your ball club. Don't know how.
Every pitcher has a bad day though.
Yeah, you're right, Juicy. Every pitcher does have a bad day. Well, we're gonna take another commercial break here, y'all. Y'all stay tuned. Don't touch that dial, like Juicy said earlier. Y'all stay tuned to the Fishbowl Radio.
Day 13. If only this were as easy as saving $600 when you switch to Progressive. Winds stirring, too treacherous for a selfie. Sure, I've taken discounts to new heights with safe driver and paperless billing, but the prize at the top is worth every last breath. Here we go. Got him. Wait a minute. Whole wheat waffles. Day 13. If only this were as easy as saving $600 when you switch to Progressive. Winds stirring, too treacherous for a selfie. Sure, I've taken discounts to new heights with safe driver and paperless billing, but the prize at the top is worth every last breath. Here we go. Got him. Wait a minute. Whole wheat waffles. Day 13. If only this were as easy as saving $600 when you switch to Progressive. Winds stirring, too treacherous for a selfie. Sure, I've taken discounts to new heights with safe driver and paperless billing, but the prize at the top is worth every last breath. Here we go. Got him. Wait a minute. Whole wheat waffles.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Fishbowl Radio here. I still got Juicy on the show with me. I'm surprised he even stays up this late. He's like an old man now.
Yes.
So, Juicy, we're going to switch gears here. We're going to talk about the LSU, not LSU, the Raging Cajuns softball team here. They've had an interesting season so far. With Michael Lateef being fired from as head coach of the U.S. softball. They're 12-5 so far this year. So what do you think about all that?
Well, honestly, when they started the season, they had a lot of players like wanting to leave. They And the shocking thing is to me that they fired their head coach because Latif has done an absolutely amazing job over there. Though honestly, I mean that program was nothing before he got there, and now he turned them into a powerhouse softball program. But I mean, I was shocked by that. I really would thought with some of these players leaving, I thought that they would actually come out the gate slow or not even have a good season. But it's still amazing how well they've actually done up to this point in the season so far. I mean, it's beyond remarkable what they've done with all the drama they had before the season and all this.
Like I said before, in football, it does take a time for a program to actually build itself back up again if you're going to fall in hard times, which, Mark Hudspeth, the former Raging Cajun head coach, he got fired because of his, he wasn't able to produce the same results he did his first 4 years it was hard, for them to actually get back to that same success.
Ever since Hood had that scandal, the football program thing.
Yeah, them sanctions that got level, which I mean, it hurts you because you lose scholarships and stuff like that, which it makes it even harder to recruit good players to come to your school whenever you don't have as much to get, and you got to make sure you get more diamonds than anything else. So as we look back here, the Raging Cajuns are coming off a loss last Sunday against number 8 Baylor. They lost 0-1, which was part of the Judy Garmon Classic, which was in Fullerton, California. They lost to Michigan in the first game, 1-3, and then the next 2 games got canceled against Iowa and Michigan State. They beat Fresno State 7-2. Then they lost to Baylor 1-0. So, heading into this game here at Coastal Carolina in Conway, South Carolina, how you feel about that game going forward, Juicy? Coastal Carolina, so far, we've heard about them in baseball. Everybody heard of Coastal Carolina in baseball when they went on that tear.
And they beat LSU in Super Regionals and got to Omaha and won it all.
Yeah,
good for them. I'm glad they won it all that year.
I love Cinderella stories, Juicy. You know that. I love rooting for the little guy. I mean, you never know.
I mean, it's at the expense of my team, but at least they lost to the national champion. So.
Which, on the opposite side of that, Arizona and the Raging Cajuns played, and Arizona went to the finals and they lost to Coastal Carolina, but nobody remembers the losers.
Nope.
Nobody does.
Nobody remembers the losers.
Well, so far this year, Coastal Carolina is 13-8 on the year. They're 11-5 at home, 0-2 away, and 2-1 in neutral games. So far this year, I haven't seen any ranked teams they played against on their schedule. The Coastal Carolina is coming off a win in Tempe, Arizona, a 6-2 win over New Mexico State. It was the Arizona State tournament. They lost both times to Arizona State, and they've beaten the 3 games they played with New Mexico State. They beat them 2 out of 3 games. So with all that, they're playing a doubleheader against the Raging Cajuns. The first one's at 12 o'clock Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, depending on where you're at. And then they go play again at 3:30 Central Time. 2:30 Central Time, 3:30 Eastern Time. So, Juicy, who you got winning this series here?
Well, I'm going to keep this pretty short and simple. I'm going to go with the Lady Cajuns winning this series. At least 2 out of 3 is extremely possible. The sweep's not out the question, but usually sweeps aren't that common. They usually at least win 1 game. But, with the season that UL's had, and honestly, I think all the stuff that happened before the season helped motivated them to kind of have a season they have right now. So I think momentum's on their side, and they're gonna win this one at least 2 out of 3.
That's a fair enough assessment, Juicy. It's a very good thing to have something like that. You know, I mean, like the controversy. Sometimes controversy can bring the best out of you. When you're not really at the best point, and you know all them players leaving, and you know the Raging Cajuns, they have leaders step up in their own locker room, and I mean they've given him a pretty good season so far. Nothing really, you know, that could get out of control real quick, and you could spiral downward. I mean, they did beat the number 2 team in the country. They didn't win the series against Florida, but they beat them one time. So, I mean, that's something to hold your hat on too.
Yeah, it's just hard when you don't win the series, though. It's much easier to brag about winning the series.
Yep. So, I think that UL is going to, you know what, I think they'll win the series against Coastal Carolina. I think they'll continue their winning ways against them. I think they'll get the sweep, though. I feel like they'll sweep Coastal Carolina. I feel really good about this game for the Raging Cajuns.
Anybody know Coastal Carolina's mascot name or curiosity? The Chanticleers?
The Chanticleers?
They got such a weird name, the Chanticleers.
It's basically a chicken.
Yeah, some kind of fancy chicken.
It's a fancy chicken. We're going to call them the fancy chicken.
It's not over here in Louisiana, no Chanticleer.
It's a fancy chicken. It's like South Carolina with the Gamecocks.
The Gamecocks, but everybody knows that's a fighting rooster.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a real interesting thing. You think those
the Fishbowl Nation know, in case y'all their names are weird, the Chanticleers.
You'll never know. So yeah, like those are the big 4 headlines we got for this upcoming game. The Raging, excuse me. If you want to stay in touch with us, you can follow our Twitter page. It is at Fishbowl Nation, which is always a good thing. So yeah, I mean, you can follow us up, keep updated there. We were live tweeting the game last night, so if you missed on any of those live tweets there, we had got you covered there. We also got a Facebook page, the Fishbowl Radio. Just search that and it should come up. And I mean, you can just go at the Fishbowl Radio and you'll pull us up there too, as well.
If you want to get on the Fishbowl Radio page and wish Juicy a happy birthday, because it is my birthday Sunday, that would be. I wouldn't mind hearing from the fans, from the listeners.
How old you turning, Juicy? Anyway.
I'll be 26.
Juicy turning a big old 26. He's finally a big kid now, y'all. He's a big boy.
Wish me a happy birthday. I'll surely appreciate it from every single one of you.
A happy birthday would be a really good wish for Juicy. So, yeah, that's wish Juicy a happy birthday on Sunday if y'all get the chance, if y'all remember. We're gonna have some fun this weekend, I'm thinking, Juicy.
Yes, I wanna try to do something fun for my birthday, hopefully.
Yep, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, thank y'all all for tuning in here today. I think it's been a great show here. Hopefully Mike Concho will be on the show next week, and yeah, we'll see how all that goes here and stuff like that. So, Juicy, anything else you want to say to the fans before we get off the air here?
No, just thank y'all for being so patient with us. I know it was going for a little while, but we're back, and I promise we're not going nowhere, and we appreciate all the support we get from y'all. Y'all keep listening. Invite other people to listen. Y'all get y'all's friends and families to listen.
Yeah, it was like one of the best things we had over here. Just having all that, with all the support that y'all given us throughout the years here. Taking that year off made us realize what we were doing and everything, and it was just great. So we'll let y'all out here. Y'all have a great day. a great night, actually. No matter where you're listening from.
Depending on what part of the world.
Yeah, depending on what part of the world you're at. So, thank y'all. Have a great day.